Hey, what's up, guys? Man, I hope you're doing awesome. This week's teaching is going to be a little short. I just finished my coffee for the day, and I just finished my podcast with Dr. Joe and Real Men Connect. So, guys, that's a program of Soulcon Ministries now, the biggest outreaching hand that we have. So if you're not listening to those podcasts, I want to encourage you, make an excuse every week, on Monday, and on Wednesday, a podcast releases. I check in from Dr. Joe, and myself. And man, we talk about what's happening in our lives and get pretty transparent and how to walk through that as men. So make sure you're checking those out. That podcast that we'll release, like I said, every Monday, phenomenal. But we talked today and really dove into what persecution is and how as men that we're leaders. And Craig Groeschel says that every leader has to understand that you're married to pain. So the encouragement for all of us, no matter what you're walking through today, as you're watching this, no matter where you're at, you are married to pain, but you can't run from it, right? Like you guys are watching this and you're with me saying, let's storm the gates of hell together. Hoo-yah, I'm all in. Let's rock. But you can't be surprised. Joe said on the podcast, which was so good, like Francis Chan gave this analogy to say, man, let's go into the darkness of this world. And all of a sudden you get to that place and then you get all these Christians complaining about that they're getting shots fired back at them. You know, and all in the spiritual realm talking about that, but we can't expect to go on a strategic strike against the work of the enemy and not have counter-strike happen to us. We're all in. We're soldiers. We're special forces soldiers for Jesus Christ. You better believe you're going to get counter-strike. So keep your defenses up. Understand that if you're going to love greatly like Jesus in other people, you're going to get hurt badly. But like C.S. Lewis said, it's still worth it. And that is a quote from him. So I just want to share that encouragement with you guys and to tell you today that I'm leaving to go with a group of warriors from the Soulcon community. All you guys are warriors, but this is a group of, I believe it's 19 of us. We leave. I leave my house in 5 minutes. And we're all meeting up from all around the country. And this is something that I'm going to share more and open it up to the community. It's with Cliff Graham, my favorite author, men's author on the planet, really one of my favorite authors on the planet. And we're going to go through this whole sex trafficking weekend. It's a simulated event with guys, like fully simulated. We're going to do a rescue op to get a simulated 15-year-old girl, a 16-year-old girl that are simulated missionaries out of sex trafficking and learn what this process is. Well, the thing that I have to share in this video is this is one of our giants that we have with our 5 giants that we attack with Soulcon, the human trafficking. It's not something that doesn't exist where you're at. It's something that exists. It's it is something that is being fed all around this world, and it's happening. Like my daughter's about to be 5. My daughter's blonde and a 5-year-old girl, one of the most highly sex trafficked things on this planet. Guys, we have a problem, and we have to be special forces soldiers to not only to step up and stand for purity before the Lord and with our wives and before men, purity of heart. But it's not purity of heart for isolation. It's purity of heart to go into the world. Like we're doing the Luther Challenge on October 31st. And that's what Luther gave his life for us to say we're supposed to be men of the word out in the world, not men of the world that are isolated as monks away from civilization. We've got to go. And I have my Bible here. And Jesus talked in the Beatitudes on one of my most challenging verses of my probably life as a man, and I would guess your life as a man. And it's getting inside of our heart that we can look at so many different things in our lives. I have to just say this before we get started. We can look at so many things in our lives and say, I'm good. That's not for me, man. I'm good. Like, I'm not in sex trafficking, so I'm good. Here's the deal. The reason there is sex trafficking is because there's a demand. Guys, I have a graduate degree in leadership and business, and a business wouldn't thrive if there wasn't a demand. What's causing the demand? It's men with a lack of purity in their heart because they're watching pornography and they're not being satiated by what pornography is showing them. So they want it in real life. So they go to actual child pornography in real life with human trafficking with adults, with this process. And we've got to understand what Jesus said in the Beatitudes and the Sermon on the Mount is something that has to echo inside of our hearts, because it's not just you that's getting impacted. If you're thinking like, man, I sit in isolation, I watch porn every once in a while, it's not hurting anybody. That's a lie from the pit of hell. Not only is it hurting you, it's feeding an industry in your marriage and your relationships, and it's hardwiring your brain to be a miserable, functioning person. It's causing more hurt than anything that we've seen in this world to date. In a business for-profit entity. So we've got to understand, we've got to stand against it, but your occasional viewing of pornography feeds an industry that is trading and capturing girls and sending them into sex trafficking rings that a lot of times we will never find them again once they get kidnapped and sent. So purity is not an option. And it's not just so you can put a ring on your finger, right? Like for guys and say, man, I'm good, I'm pure. No, it's purity because we're at war. And Satan is at war in other people's lives. And we've got to get over and win the war between the flesh and the spirit so we can get out into this world and fight the war against Satan in other people's lives. Because 1 John 3:8 says that Jesus came to destroy the work of the enemy. And we've got to be focused on destroying the work of the enemy. But before we can do that, we have to be pure at heart. In Matthew 5:8, Jesus said, "But I say to you that whoever looks at a woman to lust for her has already committed adultery with her in his heart." So maybe you're watching and saying, man, I don't watch pornography, but you sit and you masturbate thinking about another girl that's not your wife. Jesus is so adamant on this to say, I'm going to die on the cross for you, give you eternal salvation. I'm going to give you the Holy Spirit, who finally gives you the power to have the fruit of the Spirit in your life. But I want you to walk in that in every area, even in the thought processes of your heart, your deep meditative state. That can change the physiological state of your body. I want you to meditate on holiness, to be pure through and through, because my heart, God's heart, your purity increases your effectiveness on this earth. It doesn't make God love you more. Let's understand that. But it makes him and looks at you and says he can use you more effectively. And Paul breaks this down in 2 Timothy chapter 2, because there's always a couple guys that complain when I talk, and they complain about something, but not the special forces soldiers, the guys that are still on the tip. So they're complaining, right? But this message is for the meat and potato eaters, not the breastfed babies that are still 50 years old. So to get it in our minds that it's not that your purity makes God love you more, it's that he can use you more effectively on this earth. Okay, let's get it, because you have to be focused, strategic, and on mission as a special forces soldier. And if you're on mission to combat the work of sex trafficking and you're secretly watching porn on a weekly basis, I promise you, Satan's mission is to steal, kill, and destroy. And that will steal, kill, and destroy in your life. And you go and you attack Satan's work, man, don't think for 1 second there won't be a counterstrike. And I don't know who you are, or I don't know where you are. Sorry, I know a lot of you guys, but I don't know where you are. But a counterstrike from the most wicked enemy that's ever been, it always hurts. Like there's always battle wounds. Jesus heals those wounds, but a special forces soldier knows that it's worth it anyway. Like we're gonna get hurt, but it's worth it anyway. We may lose our lives, but it's worth it anyway. So live that today and this week. And guys, I love you. I can't wait to fill you in from the Gaborim training that we're going out to for the whole simulated operation. So just, man, I can't wait to share. I believe God's going to do a miraculous work in all of our lives, and hopefully to unlock something in purity that we all need to go to the next level in our commitment with Jesus and put us more on mission. So hoo-yah, I love you guys. We'll talk to you next week.